Nia Campbell felt her stomach tighten the moment she and her husband, Lukoy, walked through the gate of her childhood home. She had spent days preparing for this family lunch, praying it would finally be peaceful. Today was important. It was the first time her mother-in-law, Mama Halima Weeksa, was visiting. Mama Halima was respected all across Eldoret, a woman known for her calm strength and sharp mind. Nia wanted everything to go smoothly, but the moment she stepped inside, she felt the air shift. The house looked the same, but the energy wasn't warm. Her stepmother, Reby, barely glanced at her before forcing a stiff smile, the kind that never reached her eyes. Reby had treated Nia like an outsider from the day she married Nia's father. Nothing Nia ever did was good enough for her. Not her job, not her marriage, not even the way she dressed. Still, Nia kept hope alive. She held Lukoy's hand tightly, reminding herself that today was supposed to unite both families. She wanted her mother-in-law to see her real home, her real roots, not the tension that always hovered around her. Mama Halima entered gently, greeting everyone with warmth and grace. Even then, Nia noticed her sharp eyes scanning the room, quietly catching every detail. She wasn't fooled by the fake smiles or forced laughter. As they all settled in, Nia tried her best to stay positive. She kept telling herself, maybe today will be different. Maybe things will finally change. But deep inside, something warned her. The storm hadn't even started yet. From the moment Nia stepped into the living room, she felt Mareby's eyes scanning her from head to toe. It took less than a minute for the first comment to come. "So, you've gained some weight, haven't you?" Reby asked loudly, pretending to sound concerned. "Marriage is making you too comfortable." Nia forced a polite smile, even though the words stung. She wasn't surprised. Reby always found something to poke at. Before Nia could respond, Reby added, "I hope you're still cooking for your husband. Men don't like lazy wives." Lukoy's jaw tightened, but he stayed quiet for Nia's sake. Mama Halima, sitting calmly on the couch, simply raised her eyebrow. She didn't say anything, but she heard everything. As they moved toward the dining area, Reby walked beside Mama Halima and whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear. Nia never learned how to cook properly. Her late mother spoiled her too much. Nia stopped walking for a second. Mentioning her mother like that, so casually and disrespectful, always hit her heart. But she swallowed the pain and continued. Reby's jealousy wasn't new. Ever since Nia's father remarried, she had treated Nia like she was just a guest in her own home. The bond Nia had with her late mother bothered Reby deeply. It was something she could never replace, no matter how hard she tried to erase it. But today that jealousy felt different, stronger, sharper. Maybe it was because Nia looked confident in her elegant cream dress, her hair neatly braided, her smile soft but steady. Maybe it was because Lukoy stood beside her proudly, showing how deeply he loved his wife. Or maybe it was because Mama Halima, a woman known for her intelligence and influence, was watching everything with quiet eyes that missed nothing. Every time Nia spoke, Reby interrupted. When Nia complimented the decor, Reby responded with, "You wouldn't know much about decorating, but thank you." When Nia asked about her stepsister Sanyu, Reby turned it into another jab. "Sanyu helps me in the kitchen all the time. Not like some people who run away to big cities after me." Nia felt each comment digging under her skin, but she kept her calm. She didn't want her mother-in-law's first visit to turn into drama. Meanwhile, Mama Halima observed everything silently. She watched Reby's fake smile. She listened to the cutting remarks disguised as jokes. She noticed how Nia kept lowering her eyes, swallowing her responses, trying her hardest to stay respectful. At one point, Reby leaned close to Mama Halima and said, "You know, some girls pretend to be good wives, but only their families know how lazy they really are." That was the moment Mama Halima's expression changed, just slightly, but enough for Nia to notice. A flicker of warning. Reby didn't realize it yet, but Mama Halima wasn't the type of woman to let disrespect slide forever. She was watching, waiting, measuring everything. And each jealous word Reby spoke was quietly stacking up, one by one, like dry firewood waiting for a single spark. When it was finally time for lunch, everyone started moving toward the long dining table that Reby had decorated with bright flowers and polished plates. But as Nia walked closer, something felt off. Every seat had a name card placed neatly in front of it, except one. Hers. Reby acted surprised when Nia hesitated. "Oh, did I forget your seat?" she said loudly, placing a hand dramatically on her chest. "You know how busy I am. Maybe you can just squeeze at the corner, or sit in the kitchen with the helpers. They know you well." The room fell painfully quiet. Lukoy's face darkened, but Nia touched his arm gently, begging him with her eyes not to react. Mama Halima watched the whole thing without blinking, her face calm but unreadable. Before Nia could respond, Reby clapped her hands proudly. "Everyone, meet my daughter Sanyu," she announced as if Sanyu was royalty arriving. "She's so helpful, so respectful. She takes care of this house like a real daughter." unlike some people who only show up when there's food. Sanyu blushed shyly, though a small satisfied smile appeared on her lips. She wasn't innocent in this. She enjoyed the attention, the comparisons, the way her mother lifted her up by tearing Nia down. Reby kept going, as if she had been rehearsing this performance for weeks. Sanyu wakes up early every day to help me. She cooks, she cleans, she listens. I don't know how I got so lucky. God really blessed me. Then she looked directly at Nia. Some children don't appreciate anything. They grow up spoiled and expect the whole world to serve them. A few guests shifted uncomfortably, but no one dared interrupt. Reby had created this stage, and she was enjoying every minute. When the food was served, she placed the best dishes right in front of Sanyu and the guests she wanted to impress. The ugali, the beef stew, the chapati, everything went elsewhere. When the platter passed near Nia, Reby suddenly said, "Oh no, that one has too much oil. Nia can't handle heavy food. Her stomach is delicate." Nia felt her cheeks heat up. This wasn't just petty behavior anymore, it was humiliation. Reby moved from person to person, speaking loudly enough for the entire table to hear. "I tried to teach her how to cook, but she was always too busy. And now she's married. I just pray her husband has patience." Lukoi's grip tightened around his fork. Mama Halima noticed. Through it all, Mama Halima remained silent, her eyes fixed on Reby like she was studying a wild animal. Every insult, every fake compliment, every calculated move. At one point, she leaned slightly toward Nia and whispered, "Eat, my daughter. Don't let anyone starve your spirit." Those simple words gave Nia a small burst of strength. But deep inside, Mama Halima was building something, a quiet storm. She was watching the patterns, the disrespect, the fake sweetness. And with each word Reby spoke, she unknowingly set herself up. She thought she was humiliating Nia. She had no idea she was digging her own grave. The lunch had already been tense, but Nia kept holding herself together. She ignored the jabs. She forced smiles. She tried to keep the peace because this day mattered to her. But Reby wasn't satisfied. She wanted a reaction. She wanted Nia to break. And finally, she crossed the one line Nia never thought she would. It happened when one of the guests complimented Nia's posture, saying she carried herself with elegance. Before Nia could even thank her, Reby laughed loudly and said, "Elegance? Please." If her mother had raised her better, maybe her husband wouldn't suffer so much now. The words hit the room like a slap. Conversations stopped. Forks froze midair. Even the children playing outside fell quiet, as if the entire compound felt the shock. Nia felt her heart drop. She stared at Reby for a moment, wondering if she had heard correctly. Her late mother, the woman who raised her with love, the woman who fought sickness for years, the woman whose memory Nia guarded like treasure, had just been mocked in front of everyone. Lukoi pushed his chair back slightly, ready to stand up, but Nia raised her hand gently. For the first time that day, she wasn't going to stay silent. She stood slowly, her voice steady but filled with pain. "Reby," she said, looking straight into her stepmother's eyes, "stop disrespecting my mother. She is gone. She cannot defend herself. But I can." The room fell into an even deeper silence. Reby blinked, shocked. No one, not even Nia's father, ever talked back to her in public. And now Nia, the girl she always considered weak and easy to control, was challenging her in front of guests. A dark flush rose on Reby's face. Embarrassment twisted into rage within seconds. "How dare you speak to me like that?" she shouted, slamming her hand on the table so hard the plates rattled. "Me? In my own house?" Nia did not flinch. "I am not disrespecting you," Nia replied quietly. "I'm just asking you to stop insulting my mother. That's all." But the calmness in Nia's voice only made Reby angrier. She felt exposed, cornered, humiliated, and nothing triggered her more than losing control in front of others. "You ungrateful girl," she yelled, pushing her chair back so fast it nearly fell. The guests gasped as she stormed around the table toward Nia, her footsteps loud and heavy. Lukoi jumped to stand, but Mama Halima lifted her hand slightly, signaling him to wait. She didn't move, but her eyes narrowed, watching everything like a silent warning. Reby kept marching forward, her chest rising and falling rapidly, her face twisted with fury. This wasn't about family anymore. This wasn't about Nia's mother. This was about pride, wounded, fragile pride. And she looked ready to explode. Everyone at the table held their breath. They knew something big was coming. They just didn't know how big. Reby reached Nia in seconds, her footsteps echoing like thunder across the dining room. Before anyone could react, before Nia could even take a step back, Reby's palm flew through the air and landed on Nia's cheek with a sharp, violent crack. The sound was so loud it echoed across the entire compound. Everyone froze. The guests gasped. One woman covered her mouth. Another stood up as if she couldn't believe what she had just witnessed. Even the children outside stopped playing, turning their heads toward the house. Nia staggered slightly, her hand instinctively moving to her cheek. It burned, not just from the pain, but from shock, humiliation, and betrayal. Her eyes filled, not with weakness, but with disbelief. She had been insulted, mocked, pushed around for years. But this? A slap? In front of her husband, in front of her mother-in-law, in front of guests? Lukoi's chair screeched loudly as he stood up with so much force it nearly toppled over. His eyes blazed with anger, his fists tightening, his body ready to protect his wife no matter what it cost. But before he could take a single step toward Reby, an arm stretched out in front of him, firm, steady, powerful. "Sit down, my son," Mama Halima said calmly, her voice cold and sharp as steel. "Let me handle this." Lukoi froze. Everyone froze. Something about her tone made even the walls go silent. Mama Halima slowly rose from her seat, her movements controlled and regal. She didn't shout. She didn't rush. She simply stood. And suddenly the entire room felt smaller, tighter, heavier. Reby smirked, mistaking the silence for victory. She folded her arms dramatically and lifted her chin, as if she had proven a point. As if she had put Nia in her place. As if she had shown the visitors who truly controlled this house. She had no idea she had just stepped on a landmine. She deserved it, Reby said loudly, her voice dripping with arrogance. "No child in this home will insult me and walk away. I needed to teach her a lesson." Mama Halima's eyes shifted slowly toward her, not with anger, but with a chilling calmness that made even Sanyu swallow hard. "A lesson?" Mama Halima repeated, as if tasting the word. "Is that what you call this?" Suddenly, her voice dropped lower, colder. "You think slapping my daughter makes you strong?" The room tightened. You could hear the clock ticking. You could hear someone breathe shakily. You could feel the tension climbing like a rising storm. Reby's smirk faltered for the first time. She didn't know it yet, but the lioness she thought she had intimidated was now fully awake, and she was coming straight for her. And this time, it wouldn't just be a slap. It would be a reckoning. The moment Mama Halima rose to her feet, the entire room shifted. It felt as if the air thickened, as if every sound in the compound stopped. She didn't shout. She didn't rush. But her presence alone demanded attention, the kind that makes everyone sit up a little straighter. People who knew her reputation exchanged nervous glances. Those who didn't suddenly understood why she was respected across Eldoret. This was not just a calm, polite mother-in-law. This was a woman who had built empires, negotiated with men twice her age, and survived storms most people couldn't even imagine. She was strength wrapped in elegance. She stepped away from her chair and slowly walked toward Nia, her eyes never leaving Reby's. The heels of her shoes clicked softly on the tiles, a controlled, steady sound that somehow felt louder than the slap that had just echoed through the house. When she reached Nia's side, she gently touched her shoulder. "Nia," she said softly, "come here, my daughter." Her voice wasn't angry, it was protective. It was warm in a way that made Nia's eyes sting again, but this time not from humiliation. Nia stood, still shaken, and moved closer. Mama Halima took her hand in both of hers, holding it with a firmness that felt like a shield. Then she lifted their joined hands and turned to face the entire room. Her voice came out calm, but powerful enough to vibrate through everyone's chest. "No daughter of mine," she said slowly, "will be touched by anyone." Gasps whispered around the room. The message was clear. Nia wasn't just her son's wife, she was hers now. Protected, claimed, loved. And nobody, especially not Reby, would ever lay a hand on her again. Reby's smirk melted instantly. She didn't expect this. She thought Mama Halima was just another in-law, a polite visitor who would mind her own business. She had no idea she was dealing with Halima Weeksa, the woman known for shutting down entire business deals over a single disrespectful comment. A few guests exchanged whispers. "That's the Weeksa Holdings co-founder, the one who fired 3 senior managers in one day. She doesn't play with disrespect." Meanwhile, Mama Halima stepped in front of Nia, now forming a physical barrier between her and Reby. Her eyes were calm, but they carried a warning so sharp it felt like a blade. "You may run this house," she told Reby quietly, "but you do not control my daughter. Not her body, not her spirit, not her dignity." Nia's father swallowed hard, suddenly realizing who he had allowed to rule his home. Then Mama Halima looked at Nia again, squeezing her hand gently. "You are safe," she said. "As long as I am standing, no harm will come to you." Something inside Nia broke, not in pain but in relief. For the first time in years, she had someone standing up for her. Someone powerful. Someone who saw her, respected her, protected her. And Mama Halima wasn't done. Not even close. Because the lioness had fully awakened, and she was about to show everyone exactly who she was. The room felt like a courtroom the moment Mama Halima turned fully toward Reby. Even the guests who had been whispering earlier fell dead silent. No one dared breathe too loudly. You could almost feel the walls leaning in to listen. Mama Halima stood tall, still holding Nia's hand, her eyes fixed on Mirembe with a calm that was more frightening than anger. "Mirembe," she began, her voice clear and steady, "I have been watching you since we arrived. Every word, every insult, every fake smile, every attempt to embarrass this girl." Mirembe blinked rapidly, her confidence fading as quickly as her color. I didn't." Mama Halima raised one finger. Just one. It was enough to shut her up instantly. "Do not lie," she said quietly. "Not now. Everyone here has seen your behavior. You didn't forget her seat. You didn't accidentally insult her mother. You came prepared to humiliate her in front of me." People shifted uncomfortably. They knew it was true. "You think humiliating others makes you powerful," Mama Halima continued, "but it only exposes how insecure you are." The words landed like stones. Mirembe's mouth opened slightly, but nothing came out. Her daughter Sanyu looked down at her plate, wishing she could disappear. Mama Halima didn't stop. "You are obsessed with image," she said. "Status. Control. You want everyone to see you as a perfect wife, a perfect mother, the woman who runs this home." She took one slow step closer. "But what you truly are is a woman terrified of being compared to the wife who came before you." Some of the guests gasped softly. "Mama Halima, please," Nia's father whispered, but she held up her hand without looking at him. "She was loved," Mama Halima said simply. "Deeply. And that love threatened you. So instead of healing, you punished a child who did nothing to you." Mirembe's eyes began to water, not from regret, but from panic. "And today," Mama Halima continued, "you wanted to show me that Nia is beneath your daughter. You wanted me to believe she is weak, lazy, unworthy." Mama Halima paused, her expression hardening. "But let me tell you something clearly, so there is no confusion." Her voice dropped lower, colder. "The Weeksa family does not marry into chaos. We do not join families that humiliate our children. We do not enter homes that attack women. And we do not tolerate abusers." The room froze. Even the ceiling fan seemed to slow down. Mirembe stepped back, shaking slightly. "Abuser? Me? I am not." "You slapped her," Mama Halima said sharply. "In front of visitors. In front of her husband." She looked straight into Mirembe's eyes. "That is abuse." Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Then Mama Halima announced, "And since you turned this house into a stage to disgrace my daughter, allow me to return the performance." She stood taller. "I will not let my son or my daughter-in-law stay in a home ruled by a bully. I will not let my grandchildren grow up around bitterness and violence." Her next words fell like a verdict. "From today onward, we remove ourselves from your chaos. And you, Mirembe, will face the consequences of the disrespect you have built with your own hands." The entire room broke into murmurs. Nobody expected this. Nobody saw it coming. But Mama Halima was not done, not even close. The storm had only begun. The murmurs in the room hadn't even settled when Mama Halima lifted her hand, calling the entire house back to silence. Her voice, steady and controlled, cut through the tension like a blade. "I have made my decision," she said, looking straight at Mirembe, "and I will not repeat myself." Nia felt Lukoy move closer, his hand brushing her back protectively, but Mama Halima held her ground, calm but unstoppable. "First," she said firmly, "Nia and Lukoy are leaving this house with me. Right now. Today." The shock was immediate. Guests turned their heads. Sanyu's spoon slipped from her fingers. Even Nia's father looked like someone had pulled the chair out from under him. Mirembe blinked rapidly, her voice trembling. "Leave? Now? Why? We haven't even." Mama Halima didn't give her the chance to finish. "Second," she said even louder, "the bride price negotiations are cancelled." The room exploded with gasps. This wasn't just a family matter anymore. Bride price negotiations involved elders, finances, respect, tradition, everything Mirembe had been bragging about for months. She had already told neighbors, friends, even church members that she would be the one leading the ceremony. She had imagined the attention, the praise, the gifts. Now it was gone. All of it. In one sentence. Mirembe staggered back, clutching her chest. You cannot just cancel. Do you know how many people are waiting? Do you know?" "I know exactly what it means," Mama Halima replied calmly, "which is why I am canceling it." Her voice sharpened. "I will not let my family join with a house that treats their daughter like trash. I will not let my son be tied to people who cannot control their temper. And I will not let you," she pointed straight at Mirembe, "pretend to be a leader when you cannot even behave like a decent human being." Nia's father swallowed hard, staring at his shoes. He looked like a man seeing his wife clearly for the first time. Mirembe stepped forward, her voice cracking. "You can't take Nia away. She is my stepdaughter. This is her home. And the bride price ends today," Mama Halima repeated. "You will not get a shilling, not a say, not a seat at the table." Sanyu covered her mouth, knowing exactly what this meant. No money, no community respect, no social status boost. Nothing. "And one more thing," Mama Halima said, voice dropping to a cold, unshakable tone. "From today, I will personally take care of Nia's well-being. her career, her future, her safety. She is under my wing now. Nia's breath caught. No one had ever said something like that to her. Not with conviction. Not with love. Not with that kind of promise. Reby looked around desperately, trying to find someone, anyone, who would defend her. But no one moved. Not the guests. Not Sanyu. Not even her husband. For the first time in years, Reby realized she had pushed too far. Her influence? Gone. Her reputation? Shattered. Her control over Nia? Finished. Mama Halima turned to Nia and spoke gently. Pack your things. You are coming home with me. And in that moment, the house Reby had ruled with fear began to crumble, brick by brick, in front of everyone. When Reby thought the day couldn't possibly get worse, the compound gate burst open. 3 women walked in with the kind of confidence that made everyone move out of their way. These were Nia's maternal aunties from Jinja, tall, proud, fierce women who looked like they had traveled across borders with one mission: justice. No one had invited them. No one expected them. But somehow they had heard everything: the slap, the shouting, the humiliation. And they came like a storm finally arriving after years of silence. The moment they stepped into the room, the air changed. Even Mama Halima straightened her back a little, out of respect. Reby, who had been shouting minutes earlier, suddenly went quiet. She pressed her lips together, her eyes darting around nervously. She knew why they were here. She just didn't know how much they knew. Ah, Reby, the eldest aunt said, her voice strong and sharp. So it has finally happened? The truth has finally reached the world. Everyone stopped breathing. Nia stood frozen, tears still sitting on her cheeks. But when she saw her aunties, something inside her softened. Relief. Belonging. These were the women who had loved her mother, who had held Nia as a baby, who had tried for years to stay connected, until Reby cut them off. We heard you raised your hand on our child, another aunt said, stepping closer. Not your child. Our child. The daughter of our late sister. The girl you tried to erase. Reby's mouth opened, then closed again. She looked like she wanted to defend herself, but words refused to come out. She wasn't ready for this kind of confrontation, not from women who had nothing to lose and nothing to fear. The youngest aunt walked straight to Nia and hugged her tight. We are here now, she whispered. No one will hurt you again. Not while we breathe. Those words broke something in the room. Nia clung to her aunt, shaking with silent emotion. Mama Halima watched with a small, approving nod. This wasn't drama. This was truth finally taking its place. Then the eldest aunt turned sharply to Reby. You isolated her father from us, she said. You treated our sister's memory like dirt. You made this house a place of control, not family. People in the room shifted uncomfortably. These were things they had suspected, but never spoken out loud. You manipulated everyone around you, the aunt continued. You pretended to care about Nia, but all you wanted was control and power. Reby tried to interrupt. That is not true. It is true, the aunt snapped, her eyes blazing. We stayed silent for Nia's sake. But today you showed the whole world who you really are. Her words hit Reby like stones. For the first time, Reby didn't look powerful. She looked exposed. The youngest aunt stepped forward and added, From the day our sister died, you treated Nia like a burden. You blocked us from her life. You insulted her mother's name. But today, the truth has found you. The aunts then turned to Mama Halima and bowed their heads respectfully. Thank you, they said, for standing with our girl when others would have let her suffer. Mama Halima smiled gently. A daughter like Nia deserves protection, not pain. The room buzzed with whispers. Some people tried to hide their shock. Others simply stared at Reby as if they were seeing her for the first time. Reby stood speechless, her face drained of color. It was one thing to fight with Nia, but fighting the truth, spoken boldly, publicly by Nia's own family, was a battle she could not win. And at that moment, it became clear. Everything Reby had built, her power, her reputation, her control, was falling apart piece by piece. And she had no one to blame but herself. Nia walked out of the house with her head held high, flanked by her husband, Lukoy, and the women who had always loved her. Her maternal aunties from Jinja and, of course, Mama Halima. For the first time in years, she felt completely safe. The weight of years of humiliation and isolation was lifting from her shoulders, replaced by a sense of freedom she hadn't thought possible. Mama Halima squeezed her hand gently. This is just the beginning, she said, smiling. I will mentor you, Nia. We will build your health center together. You have the heart, the knowledge, and the courage to make a difference, and I will be with you every step of the way. Nia felt tears prick her eyes, not from sadness but from hope. For so long, she had lived in fear and doubt, but now she could finally see a future she could control. Her father stepped forward, looking ashamed. Nia, he said softly, I'm sorry for letting this happen. I should have protected you. I will no longer stand with Reby. She needs to be held accountable for her actions. Reby watched silently from the doorway, her face pale. She had imagined this day many times, picturing herself victorious, with control over everyone. Instead, she was powerless, witnessing the life she tried to manipulate flourish without her. As they left the compound, Nia felt a surge of strength she hadn't known she had. For the first time, she was surrounded by people who truly cared for her, people who valued her dignity and her spirit. She looked at Mama Halima and her aunties and smiled. The sun shone warmly above them as Nia stepped into her new life. No insults, no manipulation, no fear. Only support, love, and the promise of a future she could finally shape for herself. And for the first time in a long time, Nia felt unstoppable.